Hi there. Continuing with the series on books about the South African conflict, and this is the second book we're reviewing, written by Peter Stiff, and it's this book, Warfare by Other Means, South Africa in the 80s and 90s. The book mainly concerns an organisation that was set up for covert operations, but before the book gets into that, it starts off with quite a long section about the Seychelles mercenary operation, which was launched to as a coup d'etat in the Seychelles and install a different president. And the organizer and the commander of the operation was Mike Hall of Congo mercenary fame, and he put together a team consisting of some of his old Congo buddies, quite a number of former Rhodesians, and some guys who were basically recruited from the bars of Durban for various reasons. And but there was a sprinkling of currently serving South African Special Force guys, including a guy from the National Intelligence Service who was there officially. Anyway, in the event, the operation was a total fiasco. The guys had been told that the weapons would be smuggled into the Seychelles via boat, and they would marry up with the weapons to conduct the operation. In the event, just before departure, Mike Hall sprung on them that they had to carry their AKs and a couple of grenades in the carry-on bags and aboard a civilian Fokker Friendship aircraft. So one of them was spotted by the customs. A gunfight breaks out at the airport. I won't go into too many of the details because I've already covered it in the review on Man of War, Rich Stannard's book. He was one of the guys there. But they end up having to escape by an Air India Boeing was given permission to land, and they took over it and persuaded the captain to fly to Durban. Now initially the South Africans tried to play it very, very low profile and weren't going to really charge the guys, but then the IACP, the International Aviation Community, put pressure on the South African government, said, well, if you don't charge them with air piracy, we will sever civil air links with South Africa. So the guys were put on trial. And during the trial, there was a very, very interesting observation made, which I'll read out. The last word on Operation Anvil, which was the name of this mercenary operation, should go to Don Kenny, an old soldier. When testifying in his own defence during his trial for hijacking, he said he had made it clear he had not wanted to be part of a Mickey Mouse mission. The judge asked politely if he meant a badly planned one. Yes, Kenny replied, an operation that contained Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, cowboys and Indians, and Goofy. So, a very eloquent summing up on Operation Anvil, and also it can describe many other mercenary operations that have taken place over the years. Anyway, the main part of the book is about this organisation, which really started in 1979 when the head of South African Special Forces, General Lutz, recruited Major Neil Creel, who had been running the reconnaissance group of the Selous Scouts. And he had come to the end of his contract, and he agreed to work for the South Africans. And the general envisaged an organisation that had three main sections to it. The operations section, which would send covert operators into Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, etc., to do the different missions. An intelligence section headed up by former special branch guy who I later knew in South Africa he was involved with one of the security companies and used to train their guys. And there was a few of the ex-Rhodesians there, and they were great guys, some of the best guys you ever meet. And then finally a long-range reconnaissance wing, which had guys from the Zulu Scouts reconnaissance group, Tim Callow, for example, but also Deodes, a renowned soldier from the reconnaissance commander, who has written a book which we will be reviewing, so won't go too much into that. But they operated far into the neighbouring countries and did some amazing work. So the mission really of the unit was eliminations, ambushes, intelligence gathering, and other special tasks. So the first thing they were tasked with was elimination or assassinations, if you like. And one of the guys who was heavily involved in the ops side of it, with the rank of major, was Gray Branfield. He had been an inspector in the Rhodesian Special Branch. In the book he's referred to as Major Brian, because when the book was written a lot of this was highly sensitive, but time has passed and some of it's less sensitive, particularly since Gray Branfield was killed in Iraq, so his name's become more widely known, and a lot of the information in the book has very obviously come from him. So some of the operations they did, they had a team in Zimbabwe, Team Juliet, and they were tasked with, one of the things they were tasked with, apart from killing ANC cadres, was to kill a Rhodesian, or ex-Rhodesian, who had been anti-Rhodesia, and he'd been a propagandist. His name was Jeremy Bricker, and he'd written and broadcast anti-Rhodesian material. He was a proponent of the terrorist war. So the powers that be decided to have him killed with a car bomb. The car bomb went off and he was wounded, but he wasn't killed. But there was collateral damage, and in the event several members of Team Juliet were arrested, and 3 in particular were pinpointed. It was Mike Smith, Kevin Woods and Philip Condrail. And then later the organisation decides to free them, and they put a complicated plan involving air assets and all sorts into place to try and spring them, and it failed, and they served lengthy sentences in Chickaroogie. The organisation had a variety of names, starting with Triplane, then D40, the section of pseudo operations, but for a lot of the time it was called Project Barnacle. And Neil Creel set up a farm for training at Renosterspruit, and also they had aircraft at Lanseria airport, a small airport near Joburg, and they really did a lot of operations. There was a lot of assassinations, and as far flung as killing one of the ANC leaders, Juicy September, in Paris, which is still a sensitive subject for obvious reasons. They also operate, or try to operate, in the United States with a poison attack. So the book goes into it. It's quite a long book, and it goes into lots of operations. Neil Creel eventually left. The organisation became the Civil Cooperation Bureau under Joe Foster, a Special Forces officer, and there was a lot of dirty tricks, both internally within South Africa and externally. And after '94, a lot of it was revealed by the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. We had a guy working as an instructor with us on a couple of the bodyguard courses overseas, who had been an operator with this organisation. And he said the reason he got out, he said the guys were dying, the operators were being killed in accidents. He said, and it was only a matter of time. He said the South Africans were sealing off any possible leaks. So he got out and went overseas. So it's a fascinating story, very interesting part of the history of the South African conflict. It's a story that a lot of people didn't want told, but Peter Stiffers told it, and he shone a light into a very, what was a very murky area.